Hello students, this is a class for BA part 2nd and we will be doing a critical summary of the essay on superstitions. Uh, this essay is written by A.G. Gardiner, and Gardner used to write his essays with a pen name Alpha of the Plough. He is a 20th century writer and he is one of the most pleasant writers in English literature. He was a well known journalist as well as an essayist. His essays are full of humor and personal touch, and he writes in a very intimate conversational style and in a very natural way. Uh, his essays are very, you can say, fun filled, but they are often on very important subjects. For example, this essay on superstitions is written on the belief that generally people have in many things without any logical reasons. Superstition means that. Superstition means when you have belief in something without any logical reason. He begins this essay with the mention of number 13, and number 13 is generally associated with a superstition that something bad, something evil will occur where there is number 13 is associated. The fears and anxieties that this number arouses in our minds is very well uh, written in this essay. He remarks in a humorous way that if a murder occurs in house number 13, it sends a wave of terror in the hearts and minds of the people who hear that. But if a murder happens in house number 7, 8, or any other number, so it will not draw so much of attention or it will not make people afraid. The writer agrees to the fact that people generally do not find bed number 13 in hospitals. Gardner gives concession to this superstition in case of hospitals. Why? Because he believes that physical recovery depends very much on our mental attitudes also as our physical health. Good health is actually a combination of body and mind. The body can recover health only when our mental state is good and free from fears, even though the fears may be imaginary or irrational. If the mind is sick or tense, our body cannot remain unaffected. It also develops various types of diseases. Similarly, our recovery largely depends on our moods also. If we were in a cheerful mood, hopeful of a good health, we become confident of a good recovery. And in these times of corona pandemic, to remain optimistic, to remain faithful, to remain hopeful is very crucial. We have to be very careful, you know. So, because this confidence quickens our recovery, whereas a doubtful, gloomy, pessimistic mind can even stop the process of recovery. That is why it is very important to keep a happy and cheerful mood in our life, especially at the time when we are in hospitals, either attending our relatives or we ourselves are in hospital. If bad number 13 arouses doubts about their recovery in minds, then according to writer, this number may be scrapped from the hospital. Our main aim in the hospital is to bring back good health to the suffering people. We are not fighting against superstitions in hospitals. It is only for creating a cheerful atmosphere that Florence Nightingale, the famous nurse, advocated the decoration of sick bedrooms with flowers. In the similar way, we have to make the environment of the hospital healthy and positive. The French writer Duhamel refers to a case in military hospital during World War I where a patient died because of his baseless fear about a pimple that rose on his nose during his treatment. Uh, and Gardner very interestingly presents this case in this essay. Further, Gardner says that with little knowledge about nature and the universe, it was natural for man to be superstitious. Man knew nothing about the mysteries of nature. Man thought that he was merely playing, he was a plaything in the hands of the natural forces, which appeared to be frightening and powerful. For example, the ocean. For example, the storms. All these things were frightening and powerful. It was but natural that man developed many superstitions and tried to find ways to save himself from calamities. Man was carried away by floods, when people drowned in waters, when people were burned down by fire, when people were killed by diseases. He saw lightning and he heard the roar of thunder. Man started thinking that it was actually an expression of anger of God for him because he did not know the physical reasons of these things. He did not understand as to why people fell ill and died because of these sickness. He came to the conclusion that it was actually a punishment for wrongdoings. He believed that the powers which rule the world are kind and cruel both. He did not know why these powers were sometimes helping and at other times destructive. He thought that everything in the universe was related to destiny. The ruling powers expressed their anger or pleasure through thunders or the flight of birds. These powers were supposed to warn and guide men through various natural events thunder, lightning, rainstorm, etc. etc. These events were called omens. Omens कहते हैं शगुन अपशगुन को. तो as a result, man almost always sought the advice of fortune tellers. They started believing in fortune tellers, especially in the times of adversities, difficulties. I quote from the essay, it was no discredit to be superstitious when all the functions of nature were unexplored, and man seemed the plaything of beneficent or sinister forces. Beneficent means helping, and sinister means evil forces that he could neither control nor understand, but which held him in the hollow of their hand. He related everything that happened in nature to his own inexplicable existence. Existence was actually not explicable. He was not able to explain the nature of our existence. He saw fate in clouds, his happiness or misery announced in the flight of birds, and referred every phenomena of life to the soothsayers and oracles. Soothsayers and oracles are actually fortune tellers, भविष्यवाणी करने वाले जो लोग होते हैं they. In this manner, human helplessness and human fear produce superstitious ideas in our minds. Gardner says that even great people like Caesar, Julius Caesar, Roman emperor, and Cicero believed in superstitions. Cicero was a learned man. He is also read in literature and he is revered for his style of writing essays. They were superstitious people. Caesar was a great Roman emperor, but he was a great believer in superstitions. He consulted these fortune tellers. He took decisions after reading his fate in omens. Another great man, Cicero, was a learned philosopher. He was an orator. But Gardner, having regard for all these people, he expresses a wish that the orations of Cicero and Caesar were misled by these superstitions. He thinks himself fortunate. The author says that he is fortunate that he was born in the modern times when science had so much logic spread among human beings, when we know so much about nature and the natural occurrences. Although we still know very little about God or these supernatural things happening around us, but in this regard, our knowledge is not more than what our ancestors knew. Yet we are no longer in the dark about nature. We are free from the old superstitious beliefs about nature. We realize that all those old beliefs are baseless. We do not have faith in animals' divine powers. We do not postpone our important programs and activities simply because of some omens that a cat has passed or somebody has sneezed, etc. etc. Superstitions now belong to a creed which is outward. Superstition was disinherited when science started revealing the laws of the universe and put man in his place. It was no discredit to be superstitious when all the functions of nature were not explored. Even so great a man as Caesar and so modern and enlightened a man as Cicero left their fate to augurs and omens. Cicero lost his life by trusting the wisdom of crows. Actually, uh, Antonia was following Cicero to kill, and Cicero has reached up to his ship. He could have fled in the ship, but he saw some crows hovering over his ship, and therefore he took it as an ill omen. He could not read actually the omen properly, and he did not start his voyage, and he was caught and killed. But now we can laugh at the superstitions that were so real to our forefathers, and therefore we are happier, we are more fortunate than our forefathers, and we live in a better age. The author expresses his satisfaction of these modern times. Thank you very much. This is actually a critical summary of the essay. If you find any difficulty in understanding of this essay, you can call me, you can write your queries on WhatsApp. I would be happy to answer your queries on WhatsApp. Thank you very much.